What is going on, everybody? This is Mikasa Sukasa's Rockfin Premium Show, completely uncensored, where we have the best guests and we discuss the facts regarding any major controversial topic. And today I have two guests with me, two guests that you're familiar with in one capacity or the other, but one is a special guest because this is the first time we ever had Johnny on this show in front of a camera. So first, let me welcome 1/3 of the Convo Couch, Johnny Tsunami. Johnny, how does it feel to be in front of the camera, man? It's like it's a new thing for me to see you like this.
It feels good, man. It feels good. You know, we're working with it. I'm ready.
You ready? Okay, so now I got a real question. Like, so if you're sitting right there, Imposter sitting right there, who the hell is running the show? And do I need to send Ghostbusters to your house? I've been there. I live there. I know about the spirits in that thing.
Oh, you know, Zoom's taking care of it. Taking away our privacy too.
And of course, we have 1/3 of the Convo Couch with us. In addition to Johnny, we got Pasta Jardula. What's going on, Pasta? It's been a long time, man.
Hasn't been that long. We were on with each other not too long ago.
It feels like it though, man. These
little big man.
These corn. Oh yeah, we did.
On your Rockfin exclusive.
Little big man. It's
let me
big talk, little talk.
Little big talk, little man, big man, or little talk, big talk. What that guy?
Big little man.
Is his name like Israel, right?
Yeah, his name Israel. Yeah, Israel Lucero. Nice guy, man. It got some weird thing with Biden but. Well, I don't know I don't know how the conclusion came to. Oh, so we had to have a revolution, and we were like, I mean, yeah, it's basically what we've been saying this whole time, but nonetheless, there is some revolutionary actions taking place, and I've seen that y'all have been very, very active with these George Floyd protests. And so let me just say before I let you all dive into this, just from the outside looking in, obviously we're fam. Obviously we talk about these issues all the time. We've been to several different types of protests for several different causes together. But for me, I genuinely appreciate the dedication that you all have shown to not only covering this issue, but activating for this issue and setting the record straight on this issue and the danger that y'all have been putting yourselves in. Basically, it seems like every damn day or every other day since the protest started to continue to fight for this cause. As a black man, and as you both know, as a victim of police brutality, I can't tell you how much it's how awesome it is to speak of you all so highly, probably more than y'all even realize. And then every day when I'm not even looking, you all validate every single word of praise I give you. So I appreciate that, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So Johnny, I heard you had a run-in the other day with Fiorella, or I should say not had a run-in. They literally ran you into a corner. Can you go ahead and give some details about the protests that you were attending that day, and then what led up to the point that eventually led to you being arrested, you and Fiorella both being arrested?
Right. So Saturday there was the Black Lives Matter protest on Beverly Boulevard. It was a pretty big protest. We got there pretty late because it started at noon, and we got there around like 4. And then we got right into the middle of it, outside of a CBS TV station. And out there, you know, there was police, but they hadn't started doing the lines until literally we parked, and then they just showed up out of nowhere, started doing the lines. So
when you say lines, what do you mean?
They're police lines where they line up and block the road. Okay. So we got there, we get out of the car, we park on the street of Beverly. So far, I mean, we see the protests, everything's smoky because some cars were burning down the street past Fairfax Avenue.
What time was this?
4 o'clock.
Damn. So y'all had cars burning by 4 o'clock. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, the protest been going on for 3 hours already by then, or 4 hours or whatever, since noon. So Black Lives Matter leadership was probably gone. So it was probably stragglers left, but everyone holding signs, a lot of journalists, a lot of cameras. There was one guy that was kind of helping direct. It was a white gentleman who was directing with a megaphone for everybody to be peaceful and to hold your hands up and to kneel. And then there was also black leadership also as well there, helping direct the protesters to just be in front of the police line and just peacefully protest with their hands up. And maybe a couple kids were throwing water bottles, but the majority of these people were Zoomers and millennials. There was a couple older people, but a lot of them was the younger crowd, younger generation.
That's interesting, because I was told, Johnny, that they don't get out and participate in politics. I was told that these are the same people who didn't stand in line for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What was it? 12 hours was the longest in Texas at a time to go vote for the person they select.
Like close to 12 hours.
Yeah, that's what I was told. But we had the same experience here. It was mainly young students, which actually answers a lot of the questions if people just paid attention and used common sense. They're trying to figure out, well, I don't understand. How did the protests get so widespread this time? Because everybody remembers Ferguson, at least you should. And unfortunately, those protests were, for the most part, at least to that degree, they were isolated. People remember the Baltimore riots, isolated. It was protests in New York, isolated. But this time, everybody is out in the streets in one form or another, and people haven't really made the connection. Well, everybody that had something to do where they could distract themselves from these issues, right? Kind of put the onus on someone else, where they felt like they weren't being hurt or affected by many of the problems that we're having in society, regardless of whether we're talking about cops shooting black people or even some of the economic strife that we've been seeing. Everybody, they couldn't ignore it because there was nothing else to look at.
Yeah, I mean,
they're all home.
Pretty savage. I mean,
yeah, pasta.
Yes,
Talk to me a bit about your experience. I know you've also attended several of the protests. Like, can you just kind of codify for the crowd how it felt to be, just for the sake of the show, a white guy? I know you're Italian, okay? I know, but just for the show, because of how you look to a lot of people. Not saying that those people are right, Pasta. I don't want them to put you in a box. But, just kind of like explain how you felt in that situation. Did you feel any safer? Because I've seen a lot of people being attacked regardless of their race. Did you feel like kind of any responsibility to protect people of color? How did you feel being in those situations?
Well, I want to say this completely, just speaking to the protest itself. And Niko, I'm an anti-imperialist, So I've always had my eye on, I believe in the message, Black Lives Matter, but the organization, there's Soros money back in the days, and the way they kind of, propped up Maxine Waters. I've always been a little bit critical of Black Lives Matter, what I'm saying? The organization. Believe in the message, 100%. But I just want to speak 100% on their side, the way they've been throwing these protests. The organizers have been peaceful. They've been keeping people just focused on the message and marching. So anything you see that's out of the ordinary, whether it be looting or people attacking the police, first of all, it's two things. The police are the ones who have been stepping out of line first, 100%. We saw that with Johnny and Fiorella. We did reports yesterday. We did a show where we showed many press people getting attacked. They don't care right now. So they're acting irresponsible and just awful. Two, you know what I'm saying? The Black Lives Matter people have been keeping everybody in line. And it's just these rogue elements that have been causing the problems. You know what I'm saying? And that's something to understand. And even in fact, I see a lot of Black Lives Matter organizers stopping anybody trying to loot, these outside sources. So I really just want to speak highly to them right now, because this is their moment. And I think they've been awesome about it. Once again, I'd like to see a little bit more coalescing of groups, whatnot, and the organization where they took money in the past before, questionable. But right now, I really think we should push against the rhetoric that the mainstream media is pushing. The fact that these are riots, they're not. They're rogue elements that are breaking off, and it's minimal, Niko. I don't call a bunch of hipsters looting a CVS a fucking riot.
Yeah, and I think it should also go, it should be discussed more often. There's a difference with quote unquote looting, protesting and rioting. There is a difference between all three. Sometimes protesting and rioting goes hand in hand. Sometimes violent protests turn into looting, but you cannot assume that the looters are part of the protesters simply because there are protests going on that looters take advantage of.
Yep.
Right? Like,
Yep.
and I feel like that part has not been discussed enough, because I know some people kind of, which is good, right? Some people have like tried to help explain some of the looting, because there may be some legitimate people, but that doesn't mean that protesters are leftists or even politically active. They have been dealing with economic anxiety, and so when they see the opportunity to come up, as it were, they take advantage of it, and that speaks, in my opinion, more to economic strife than anything else. Like, even it's outside of the floor, they're kind of like exploiting a situation where they can go and do this and get away with it. But then I would have to ask this question: how many peaceful protesters? Because that's what everybody's saying, is that this is it's just a bunch of rioters and Antifa and Well, how many peaceful protesters have been arrested versus the quote unquote looters?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have that statistic. I mean, because let me tell you, so many peaceful protesters have been arrested, and I don't know. I've seen videos of the cops letting people spray paint buildings like right in front of them, and
yeah. I mean, and people starting the looting too. Fiorella talked about it the other day. There's a lot of like, CIA suspicious tactics of like, people who aren't part of the protest kind of breaking stuff, starting looting, whatnot, to give justification for the cops using their strong arm tactics that they use. So it's really some deep, deep, dark shit sometimes, you know what I'm saying? And it's important to understand that those elements are involved, and that the looters are just breaking off, and we've seen some looters get arrested. It was kind of heartwarming the other day when looters got arrested around the corner from a CVS. Once again, just a bunch of hipsters walking out with Maker's Marks and Cokes, and you know what I'm saying? Neighborhood poor people too, Niko. They joined in these looters. They weren't part of the protest whatsoever. And then we see by another CVS or a Rite Aid or a Walgreens, excuse me, I have it up on the Twitter, where people are breaking into the Walgreens, and a bunch of people who are part of the protest stopping them.
I've seen that several times.
Target, stopping them. So even these protesters and these people part of the protesters, they're taking matters into their own hands to stop the looting, even if it is a corporate place getting looted, because they want their message to be heard, and they want to show that these are peaceful protests that they're a part of.
Yeah, and I'm glad that and leave it up to Fee, of course, that she brought up the CIA, and if anything, just the general establishment apparatus. And that's important to remember, because if we look at the way these protests are being discussed, it's important to point out that we've seen these tactics used before. Mm-hmm. We've seen these exact same tactics used before, generally right before an election. All sides. Basically, it's like this weird dichotomy where the left, usually, in socialist countries, they say the leftists are the ones being violent. They pick these random instances of violence from these people, and then they say, those are all the leftists, and that's exactly how they're all acting. And then you ignore the fact that somehow a paramilitary right-wing dickhead ends up in charge. And you're like, hold up, that doesn't make any sense. And it's the same thing we're seeing right now. You're seeing people inadvertently, because I don't believe that everybody's being malicious. I know some people are pandering, but some people are like, and we can go into the details about why y'all think that is, but they're basically saying, well, look at how violent the looters are getting. Look, and they're conflating it with the protests, and then defending cops using violence to stop this, ignoring the fact that there is way too much violence coming from the cops initiating anything that happens negatively subsequently, right? So it's in Miami, for example, we had peace, chilling, people throwing up signs. Cops are actually chilling. They're not doing anything to anybody because the protesters were being kind and everybody's being nice to everybody outside of their chanting. Next thing you know, cops pull out batons. The ones who were sitting there being nice and chilling, they're sent off. Their shift is over. The next ones come in with riot gear. And then they put on gas masks, and this is as it's getting dark, with clear intent. To you, next thing you know, I'm not joking, because me and my wife left at that point, pop, pop, and boom! Next thing you know, gas everywhere, curfew instantly. And it was like, hold up, when did we get to this point? Who ignited that? And it's the same pattern over and over and over and over and over again. Peaceful protesters are attacked by police officers, and then they react, and then some people use that as an excuse to cause damage, or what we have seen where police officers are being caught undercover breaking shit and looting.
Yep. Yeah.
So
can I say something to Niko?
Go ahead, bro.
They don't follow the rule of law. You know it's the cops doing this shit too as well. There comes a line and then they cross it simply by watching what Johnny and Fiorella experience getting arrested with press badges on. Dude, we've had a show where press is getting harassed. Now, if they're going to harass the fucking press, what are they going to do to the protesters? That just shows you. And the press has cameras. They don't even care. There was a guy in Minnesota the other day. He got gassed while on the ground holding his freaking press badge. They don't care. They're shooting at press. So what are they going to do to the protesters if they're doing that to the press?
You might make yourselves bigger targets because of the press badges, because they don't want people the cops have been waiting for the most part, at least they were in the beginning, they stopped now, but they were waiting to commit a lot of these atrocities, is what I would like to call them, domestic terrorism, really, until the nightfall hits. Where it could shield any wrongdoing, where they could deflect it on the protesters by protesters having plenty of evidence that protests were peace until cops incited violence. Go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, that journalist actually he was just laying on the ground with his badge, and then he got a police officer just maced him in the face, just randomly. But yeah, we can see that the protests are peaceful until the cops get involved and they start using these Gestapo tactics, like friggin'. There's no need to do any of that because everyone's been peaceful.
Yeah, and if there's any legitimacy to some of the radio, the chatter that's been put out publicly, LAPD had something out there that basically said Trump said kill him, so let's kill him. And then they were joking. They said $100 for every N-word you kill and $50 for any Mexican. There was some chatter on the NYPD police. If there is any legitimacy to it, and I believe there probably is, because the people that I know, they wouldn't even know how to talk like a lot of these people are talking. You can't even do the shit that you hear. You can't even say satirically. I don't know how you would think of it satirically. So, yeah. And if you couple that with the videos that we have seen coming out, I posted a video yesterday on my Twitter where literally a cop, while guys were walking away, protesters were walking away, and the cop tries to push somebody as they're walking away, not even paying attention to the cop. And the cop's response when the dude said, "Don't push me," which he has every right to say, he says, "What are you gonna do about it?" Then pushes the guy on the ground. The cops jump him. That's what we've been seeing.
It seems like a lot of these police officers have been waiting for this. They were hungry for this, Yeah. And it seems like a lot of them are kind of, they feel like they're playing a game. And when we got arrested, they treated us like criminals, even though we were just filming. We got there and we were just filming.
Which, by the way, total violation of your First Amendment right. Total violation. If they did not see you committing a violent act, if they did not see you inciting any violence, you have the right to assemble and you have the right to protest. And your media, which you also have the right to. So check. But yet, when you're arrested, hopefully there's a lot of firms out there I know now are doing pro bono work for this, but that's uncalled for. It shouldn't be necessary. But at the end of the day, guess who is not going to be held accountable? Almost every single cop that wrongfully arrested somebody, wrongfully threw somebody in jail, every single mayor, the governor of Arizona, for example, that put out a week-long curfew. That's unlawful. You can't do that. And if you took it to any major court,
the girl,
go ahead.
She asked the police officer, "What's going to happen after 9 p.m.?" She goes, "After 9 p.m., we're going to beat the living shit out of you." He said that to her. It's like, holy fuck. Christ, now this is this is what's going on, and
it's so Kim and everybody should know by now, we're friends. All of us are friends with Kim Iverson, even if we disagree with her. Her whole thing is I'll give you an example, by the way. Kim, we have a disagreement on whether or not the left is inherently more violent than the right. She believes that there's no comparison because of what she saw or what she's basically being exposed to. I'm gonna say what she saw, but what she's been exposed to as far as these riots are concerned. And her whole thing has been both sides should be held accountable to a larger degree. I believe that there's a problem because there's clearly one side that's never held accountable and one side that's always held accountable even when they've done something wrong. However, you compare that with what Cassandra Fairbanks said, which was basically kill everybody who even looks like a looter. You listen to the dog whistles that Cassandra Fairbanks has been using, completely different. And the goal is completely different. I'm not in Kim's, shoes. I don't live by myself as a young woman. So I get why she may feel that cops are more necessary to protect you from looters. But for me, I disagree vehemently with this idea that these looters are leftists, which should not be. Once again, you can't conflate. Put it like this. With that same logic, every single cop for any police department in this country at this point should all be treated the exact same way, and we should assume all of them are guilty because of a lot of them, but because 2 or 3 got caught looting and got caught causing havoc, making it seem like the protesters were the ones guilty. We should go ahead and prosecute all of them and assume that the police department sanctioned that effort, right?
Yeah.
That's ludicrous.
It was a weird take. I mean, I disagreed with it completely. I don't think it's a left and right thing. And what I would say to Kim is go to a protest and see how it is. And then it was weird because she made a video
that was so good.
It was really good. And then she put out that tweet. So then I was like, I'm confused.
Yeah. You know what it is, I think, Niko? I think a lot of people feel like when it comes to like a lot of these movements, they're co-opted by certain political parties. And, a lot of people, like I said, if you want to be fuck Trump, that's cool. But you better be fuck Obama, fuck Bush, fuck Clinton, fuck them all. You know what I'm saying? We talk about Black Lives Matter started under Obama and Biden. Mm-hmm. And all these this weaponry that the police department got, they got it from when Obama brought it back home and he moved the troops out of Iraq. And they filtered them into the whole police department. So
they were immediately using Ferguson
properly. I understand what she's saying when it comes to that, to sit there and say that the left establishment, a left political base right now is less violent than the right when they are pro-imperialist, just like the right. You know what I'm saying? Once again, this is not a left or right issue. This is more of a poor versus rich, authoritarian versus just people issue.
That's what I exactly.
More class than anything else.
I agree. And I'm someone who says that the Democratic Party is inherently more dangerous than the Republican Party. I firmly believe that. But that's not the same thing as conflating the Democrats with the left. There's one in this particular scenario. If you want to say the left is completely right, say if you want to even include the looters with the protesters, and you shouldn't do that, but say if you wanted to, guess what? Any violent act, a lot of these looters, or people who committed violent acts, will be, if they're not caught today, they will get some damn warrants passed out if that camera recognizes their face for whatever reason. Hell, even Jake Paul got caught, the YouTuber, who's a right wing. He's known for being right wing in a lot of his views. And he was out looting. Why? Because I can get away with it and it's funny to put on a video to say I got away with it. That's how a lot of people are out there thinking right now.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. A lot of millennials, Gen Zs that are really fucking stupid. They just do stupid shit.
But they will be held accountable to whatever degree they need to be held accountable because that's how cops work. And we all know at this point, cops have already been in the drought because they haven't been able to just pull people over for no reason to meet their quotas over the last 3 or 4 months. Yeah. The other side of that fence, though, is that we know with absolute certainty due to video evidence that cops have been inciting violence. They've been using unnecessary violence. They've been using violence on kids. They've been violating rights over and over and over again. And what we do know is that unless there is some extreme outlier for the violence that is already occurring and has become normalized in these protests, none of these cops will be held accountable. And in fact, if a cop tries to stand up amidst the current environment, they may just get fired. Or worse.
Will be ostracized by their fellow cops, that's for sure. Somebody told me today, they were like, listen, usually I agree with you, Pasta, over Fiorello, but I agree with Fiorello over you on this. The knee thing to them was really more of a crock of shit than anything else. But, I saw some cops initially doing it and afraid to do it because what their other, their coworkers or other co-cops would think. In LA, in Van Nuys, there was one girl, you could see she had to talk herself into it. And I know she was thinking like, well, how am I going to be treated amongst my supporters? my superiors. So, I mean, yeah, like you said, like the whole situation with the cop accountability. Can I also point out, Niko, too, when it comes to the right and the left, that I think that the thing that we can't forget is that I think a lot of people on the right look at Americans different than everybody else as foreigners. They see themselves, we're Americans, we got to take care of Americans first. You know what I'm saying? That's why they were for the wall and whatnot. As well as the left always said, well, no, they're just humans. We have to treat them with the compassion as all humans. As when that child is my child kind of mentality. So I think that's the big difference that's being forgotten here. The only problem is that the establishment left, the political left, is also the cause for a lot of those people to come over here as well. And that's what a lot of people on the ground, they don't understand. They don't understand the nuances of imperialism.
Like no one understands.
They don't. So it's like, it's easy for them to say that we're the ones full of virtue. We're the ones who have compassion. But yet you'll sit there and say that the right is evil. They're bad. They're the ones who don't want that. And while the left, some of our elected officials like the Clintons, the Obamas, are responsible for these people having to come here because their country's been torn apart, they don't accept that and understand that as well.
And I think it's also important to actually acknowledge the huge ideological consistency that we've seen actually from both the left and the right, and the Democrats and Republicans regarding quote unquote protests, especially in the middle of this pandemic. See, I was actually one of the ones who, when the white people came out there with the guns and they were like protesting, and actually a lot of the left was making fun of them. Even though I get it, some people may have been protesting for negative reasons, for selfish reasons. Once again, we should not conflate everyone who is protesting with the wrong reasons in mind with people who are genuinely concerned about the overreach that we had seen taking place, like in Michigan, where a barber got arrested for opening up his barbershop too early by Gretchen Whitmer's crew. So and I said then, look, I might not agree with the reasons that all of them are protesting, but they're protesting, they're exercising their Second Amendment right, and that's absolutely their right to protest. If they're experiencing economic angst, there is some level of fear, although it may be a different type of fear. There is some level of fear from their government, the institutions that are supposed to protect them, and a lot of them can't even articulate it, and that is what has driven them out to protest. And I said, so even though I may disagree with them, that's 100% their right. And if cops try to crush them like they tried to crush these protests, I would absolutely say something about it. But I also feel the same way about this. But what you saw was Trump screaming, liberate Michigan, liberate Minnesota, liberate this, liberate that, liberate Hong Kong. Remember, he was all about the violent protests in Hong Kong. He loved them shits. He loved that violent But then when that shit gets brought to his front door, when they really come in to liberate some shit, all of a sudden we're going to kill him.
Yeah. Johnny played a video, Niko, of what they're doing. I love it. It's like the CIA has taught a lot of the arousers in Hong Kong, the ones throwing the protest, how to combat back against tear gas, whatnot. Johnny brought it to the fucking forefront. We played it. I'm like, Johnny, I love this. We can use their tactics against them now.
Yeah, and people have been, by the way.
Yeah, with the cones and I love it. So.
Yeah, but it's just crazy because when you see the Trump supporters immediately, they were all about liberating Hong Kong from the evil Chinese government, and they're like, this is different though. This is different. I'm like, what's the difference? This isn't against a repressive and oppressive government that is exercising way too much power over its citizens and threatening their lives with violence and censoring them and controlling their information and pushing propaganda and limiting their rights. I'm like, so this isn't anything like that, huh? Really? Hey, do y'all know about that? And I'm gonna cover that in another segment, but do y'all know about that? Basically that act that is exclusionary and makes it so that police and politicians can't be, but do not need to be charged for the same acts that everyday citizens commit and are charged for.
I had no idea about that.
It's a matter of fact. Let me see if I can find it. I wish police immunity.
We got to get out of here soon, Niko. We got to get out at 3 o'clock.
I got you. But I want to talk about this really, really quick. It's called qualified immunity. And it says the qualified immunity shields police and all of the government officials from accountability for their illegal or unconstitutional acts. And it was passed in get this, 1982. Do you know what happened in 1982? Pops, you a little bit older than me. What happened? That was the year after who got elected?
Wasn't that Clinton?
It was Reagan.
Reagan
got elected in 1980 and 1982. I believe there was some sort of
that was Reagan first.
Reagan in 82.
And then remember, he proceeded to steal money from Social Security to replenish the treasury. He passed on. He went on a suppression and oppression wave and was celebrated the entire time. You can go on for days about all the atrocities that Reagan was a part of, both domestically and foreign. And look what took place. And this is the beginning of the drug war.
Contra.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, eventually that started playing itself out too as well. And if you started kicking people immunity, not too far shortly after, the NED was formed when this shit was coming on. Because once again, they were trying to find immunity. So instead of letting the CIA have illegal operations on the street with Freeway Rick Ross to sell crack to buy weapons, they're like, let's just form the NED and take it about our tax money and frame it differently. And that's when all this shit started happening around 1982. So therefore, it's legal now to support a regime change with American tax dollar. You don't have to sell crack on the streets anymore with Freeway Rick Ross.
That's very true. All right, I'm gonna let y'all go ahead and get out of here. Real quick, let everybody know where they can find you and what y'all have coming up over the next couple of days.
Go ahead, Johnny. Do it.
You can find us on YouTube, Rockfin. We're on Rockfin, the Combo Couch, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, but we don't go on Twitch. But anyways, we're about to go on Rockfin. Actually, do our exclusive Ask Us Anything.
Awesome.
And let me just say this much: when Johnny pops off, it was me who gave him the title Johnny Sue on the ones and twos and made the superstar in the making right there. I'm the man behind the man behind the man. Remember,
I think that actually his parents are the man behind the man. I'm just saying.
I'm the guy behind the guy behind the guy I'm speaking to.
Honestly, that sounds like you're really, really pro marriage equality, if you catch my drift. So you might want to be. Go ahead, y'all get out of here. But for everybody else, we got a great show. I appreciate you guys stopping by. We'll have y'all both on again soon to talk about all the other crazy stuff that y'all got going on. Go ahead.
Rebel Network, Johnny started one of the best fucking things that really happened. He took Rupley and brought it to life. And it's just his first thing was the El Monte protest because they beat down some people in El Monte. And Johnny went the next day for all the protests. It is great. If you haven't checked it out, True Rebel Network. It's like Rupley meets Johnny Sue.
True Rebel Network on YouTube, everybody. Go check that out.
Network.
Now. True. Is that what a TRU or TRUE?
TRUE.
Okay. So just true, not true.
I thought about doing TRU.
All right, y'all. Go check that out. True Rebel Network. Johnny, welcome to the front of the camera. Love having you. And Pasta.
I'm coming.
Hey, strong Italian man. You stay strong, bro. You stay strong in these hard times, brother.
I made some bolognese. I gotta go check on it.
All right, for everybody. If you like that segment of Mi Casa Su Casa, don't forget to like the video and smash that subscribe button. Want access to members only live streams, behind the scenes footage, and other premium content? Well, you can endorse us on Rockfin Premium, become a patron through Patreon, or you can sign up for the MCSC Premium membership through YouTube. All the links are in the description below. But hey, more than anything else, always remember,
find your balance.
Find your balance.
Find your balance.
Find your balance. Find your balance.
Find your balance. Find your balance.
Always remember, more than anything else, find your balance.
peace.